Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mace. Thank you for joining me today. I'm just catching up on this story. I haven't really been following it. Actually, just today is when it's kind of caught my attention. I did see a thumbnail a couple of days ago and I was like, what's going on? And I thought it was more or less a smaller scale incident, but this is a real gong show. This is a real gong show in Los Angeles. An Australian reporter was shot with a rubber bullet during the LA protests. So I guess there's mass protests going on, and there's been some vandalism, rioting, looting, all the stuff that kind of goes along with it. And which is scary enough, Los Angeles' history. You look back into the 90s, the LA riots, the racial issues, and I guess this is directly sort of due to Trump's mandate to ICE to begin like mass deportations of people that have probably been there for a long time. And listen, immigration's obviously an important issue, but you have to have some humanity and compassion and tact with it. Like, I don't know. Obviously, there's lots of quote unquote illegals in the States, but they're hardworking people, and this anti-immigrant, you constantly see an anti-immigrant stance and rhetoric from people to the right. And the fact is, immigrants are needed and they're important, and they're just like you, just like me. They work hard, and they're trying to find a better life. I can't speak to the American particular issues per se. I'm in Canada. And we have our own kind of string of more or less right-wing people that are very anti-immigrant, and they blame everything on immigrants. The housing crisis, immigrants. I can't find a job, immigrants. It gets to be quite tiresome. Let's get to it.
The chaos unfolding in LA is sending shockwaves across the globe. Our very own US correspondent Lauren Tomasi was caught up in the mayhem, shot with a rubber bullet. Take a look.
After hours of standing off, this situation has now rapidly deteriorated. The LAPD moving in on horseback, firing rubber bullets at protesters, moving them on through the heart of LA. You just shot the
Wow. That's insanity, man. Can you not see that that's clearly a journalist, a reporter? There's a camera in front of her. She's holding a microphone. She's not facing you. She's no threat. That was a very strange reaction of the riot.
Doesn't matter how many times you watch it, right? Lauren joins us live now from LA. Lauren, I think we were all so shocked and so deeply troubled by what happened to you.
Just a quick aside, just the imagery of that, the riot police standing there, the shot ringing off, the kind of inhumane and just disregard for people. Like, I don't know what that officer thought was a threat in that situation. I just finished watching Andor, though. And I honestly think it's the best piece of Star Wars media potentially ever. And it definitely stands alongside, the originals. But it deals heavily with, there's a lot of social commentary on fascism, authoritarianism, and there's a whole story arc about essentially this fascistic force coming in and committing genocide and totally, taking over this planet, gutting it, and just killing all these people, essentially in a false flag operation. But wow, just the imagery there kind of reminded me, because I just watched those scenes the other night and I was thinking about them quite a bit. The show's really good. I highly recommend Andor. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, like, you don't even need to know Star Wars that well.
You yesterday, how are you feeling this morning?
Morning, Sarah and Carlos. I'm good, thank
it was
you.
yesterday?
I have a bit of a bloody big old bruise and it's a little bit sore, but I am all okay, thank you.
Hey, can you talk us through just, it was obviously, it's been a big couple of days, but it seemed to me that escalated. And talk us about to what happened before and then during it after.
Yeah, I mean, we were reporting on the Today Show all morning the situation on the ground in downtown LA. My cameraman Jimmy and I had started by that detention centre in downtown LA, and there was, a few skirmishes here and there and a little bit of chaos moments as we went throughout the morning, but it was about 5 o'clock local time when there were suddenly just thousands of protesters on the streets of downtown LA, and we felt that presence of the LAPD and law enforcement really ramp up. Jimmy and I went live. We were doing a cross into the program. And police started pushing their way up the street. They'd begun firing tear gas canisters and those rubber bullets, and we moved onto the sidewalk and really tried to stay out of the way. What you saw, that report, was at the end of that live cross. We'd moved off to the side of the road. We were at the side of police. I had my back to those LAPD officers. I was really focused on the camera and, finishing that report, telling what was happening. And I got hit. Jimmy scooped me up and we made our way out of there as quickly as possible. Bit of a shock.
Oh, I mean, it's a tremendous shock, Lauren, and you were just doing your job, right? And we've been in awe of your coverage for the past few days and how incredible difficult those circumstances are for you. We know it was tense. I mean, those circumstances that you found yourselves in for that report specifically seemed to be somewhat calmer, and then all of a sudden, he turned and fired at you. It just seems so out of place and so bizarre.
It was bizarre.
Have you managed to, has there been any explanation? Have you been able to sort of gain any intel on how that happened, why that happened?
No, I mean, where we were standing, it felt like things had calmed down a little bit after that big, chaos of moving up the street. And we'd found a moment where police were still standing off there, but it had calmed for a moment. The police were standing still, and that is why we stepped off to the side. We weren't in a group of protesters or anything. We were with other media. I think you can see a cameraman walk behind me in the middle of that shot. So, look, we were doing our best to report what was happening from the scene in the safest way we possibly could. And Jimmy and I were listening to everything the LAPD had been saying to us.
But also, you're balancing a lot there, and you've also got protesters who are furious with you. And for the most part, over the last couple of days, I've seen you in every circumstance be calm and talk to these people. You've also been fearlessly...
I'm a little unsure, why would the protesters be furious with the media, though? Because they think they're making them look bad? Listen, protests and riots are the language of the voiceless, essentially. And you don't have to support riots or, endorse riots, vandalism, looting. But they are symptoms of grander and larger issues, for sure.
Unbiased. So that's reporting both sides of it. And then out of the blue, you get lined up.
Yeah.
Is that how... I mean, you're loath to... I know you. You're loath to be part of this story. But in a way you are, and it's going to have reaction and ramifications across America. That's how bad the situation is in LA right now.
Look, I feel embarrassed, quite frankly. I really don't want to be the story as part of this. We were just on the ground trying
Trump
to do our job. I was there. Jimmy and I were doing our best to bring to Australia what is unfolding on the streets of LA. And it's a really unfortunate thing that has happened. And I think, as a journalist, we want to be there telling...
It looks like scenes out of, if you've seen the film Children of Men, and a lot of other dystopian media.
A story. I think it's a really crappy thing that's happened, but I really don't want to be the story here. It is a really chaotic situation that's unfolding in Los Angeles.
I mean, Lauren, you've got so much grace, and as Carl said, we know that about you, and none of us ever want to be the story. You want to be reporting on the facts and what's unfolding in front of you, and you do that so well, and you've brought that to our audiences, as we said, for days now, and we take our hats off to you because you've been doing an incredible job. And yeah, just the way that officer turned and pointed at you and targeted you.
Yeah, it was
with your back to him.
I mean,
it's unforgivable. And we really feel for you, and we thank you for your grace, frankly.
Lauren, you're going to be part of this story now ongoing. Do you have any reservations?
I mean, I think that it's so important that, journalists are out there doing our job, and we've got to keep on doing that. It's, no journalist wants to be the story. And certainly I hope that, we can move on from that and, focus what is unfolding, throughout America. It's a really tense situation at the moment. The sense on the ground is so tense. And, I just want to move on, and I will get back out there and keep on reporting it.
All right, good on you, Lauren. It's good to talk to you. And look, speak for yourself when you say you don't want to be the story. I'm, happy to be the story any day of the week.
Guys, I do have to tell you though, I've had some lovely people reach out, and one of the phone calls I didn't expect to get today was actually from the Italian consulate. Ciao, Lauren. Tomasi, you might have gathered, is actually an Italian name. And so the Italians have checked in on me, which was a really lovely moment. So.
What, was he asking if you were single or something?
Oh,
God. The Italians, they always see an angle.
Hopefully he offered you some tiramisu at the very least.
Asking me out for some pasta.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Hey, job well done, and we'll keep watching because it's such an important story and doing a terrific job. Thank you, Lauren.
Strong woman.
You've never seen.
So yeah, absolute insanity. It looks like in Australia, in Los Angeles right now, and good honor for getting in there and being a part of it and doing her job. And journalists, especially journalists that are entering precarious and volatile situations like her. Like, yeah, it takes a certain amount of cojones to get in there, right? And pretty insane. Yeah, it's certainly bizarre, surreal. That officer kind of just looked at her randomly and then fired a bullet. I don't know if he was. I don't know if he was aiming at something behind her. It just doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, it's crazy. But it's interesting for her, like for this reporter. I'm not familiar with her at all. But this event probably is like, it sucks to put it this way. It's probably good for her career. I don't know. It's probably a good thing for her career. She's getting interviews, and she can use this to kind of give a shot of adrenaline to her career, really. And it's interesting thinking about that. She's just doing her job. She's in there, and now she gets swept up in this media fire story, which is interesting because I've been reading the novels of Dom DeLillo. I think it's pronounced DeLillo. Particularly, I'm reading right now. Oh man, my mind is not working today. I had a really long day. I was biking for like 10 kilometers, downhill biking. So it's a lot of hard work, and you get 15, 20 minutes of downhill. It's called Libra, and it's about Lee Harvey Oswald and kind of conspiracy theories about JFK's assassination. And in my mind, I there's no doubt really in my mind. I don't think Harvey Oswald, he was there. He was he was a dupe. He was simply a patsy. I think the U.S. government probably killed JFK. Maybe the mafia. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of theories as to who did it, but it was a professional job, and I don't think it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't even think the ballistics like on his rifle even matched up to like what. Okay, all that aside, but individuals getting swept up into history, and to be swept up into history, you need to be in proximity to historical events. So this journalist, she's in proximity to this historical event, and she ends up becoming swept. She becomes swept up in the story, and how individuals can ebb and flow, and whether they want to or not, sometimes they get swept up into history. Some people might want to get swept up in the history, and they don't. So yeah, his novels definitely deal with that to a huge degree, and it's quite interesting. And even objects, how they travel through time, and the ripple effects and the butterfly effect, and etc. But yeah, you got to get in there if you want to be doing the good work. So I don't know, insanity. I can't even think right now. I got to go play ball hockey. What am I doing with my life? God damn it. It was a long day, and then the game starts really late at night. It's kind of annoying, but I get to see my friends and play hockey for a while. So it'll be good in the end. I got to go. All right. See you guys.